If you're looking to add to your arsenal for the upcoming season, check out the full line of St. Croix rods and SEVIIN Reels.
For example, the St. Croix Siege Surf Rod combines premium materials and technologies with dependable durability, all at a great price. For anglers who never compromise, the handcrafted Legend Surf Rods are enhanced with all the leading technologies, including SC4 carbon fiber and titanium torzite guides.
And also from the St. Croix family of brands, the 7 GW spinning reels are available in 5 sizes. The 5 and 6,000 are optimized for the surf with an IPX5 waterproof rating and up to 35 pounds of drag.
To find out more about these and many more models from both brands, visit stcroixrods.com and SEVIINReels.com. Well, Toby, it's a new year and I'm already thinking about the coming surf season. I'm guessing that many of our listeners are doing the same and starting to make their gear lists for 2026.
The thing is, it can be annoying trying to track down everything you need across different websites and shops, but that's where the Surfcaster steps in to solve all your problems. It's your one-stop surfcasting shop.
It sure is, and that's why the Surfcaster is now the official tackle shop of the Surfcast Podcast. From needlefish and darters to braided line and rods and reels, the team at the Surfcaster has you covered. And if you're not sure exactly what you need, the great folks at the shop are there to lend you personal, knowledgeable advice.
Yep, so feel free to head on over to the website, thesurfcaster.com, or just stop into their fully stocked store in Shelton, Connecticut.
Welcome back to the Surfcast Podcast. A quick reminder, you are running out of time. Surf Scenarios Seminar Series starts next week, January 20th, for those listening to this when it first comes out. January 20th, it starts. The foundational series, or session, I should say, is all done. Those who have subscribed already, that was kind of a tongue twister. Those who have subscribed already are already watching it. It's 12 hours long. By itself, it's essentially an entire seminar series, but that's it's a pre-recorded session that you get ahead of time that does various different things, but mostly it prepares you for the sessions coming up and it answers a lot of the questions that I get consistently, stuff about gear or my approach, and it also covers some key topics about plug presentation and making the most and analyzing current. So that's out right now. So if you want to watch that before the first session, you're definitely going to want to sign up. Don't miss this. I'm telling you, Surf Scenarios is not like any other seminar series you signed up for before. A lot of new people, I think, from the podcast. I'm assuming that's where they're coming from. A lot of new people have signed up this year. And it's great to have new people because they're so enthusiastic about what they're watching right away versus the people who have been doing it for a while. They're really looking forward to the new stuff. The brand new people are like, holy shit, this foundational series by itself is like worth it. Like, this is crazy. And I love hearing that. The feedback is really great. So again, you can find the information at the link in bio of the podcast. And it's on my website, indeepoutdoors.com/seminar series. Again, it starts January 20th. Don't wait. I'll remind you again next week, and I'll probably remind you the week after that again, because even if you missed the very first one, it doesn't matter because they're all recorded. Mm-hmm. So if you miss it live, you can watch the recording. You can watch the recording as many times as you want. You can take notes through the end of March. They're not available forever, but they're available for a long period after the last session. So thank you for listening to that little bit of an ad. Thanks for letting me take up that time. Toby, I will let you kick off today's fun episode. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, so it's funny for the listeners out there. This was something I had bounced around in my head and then mentioned it to Jerry as, hey, let's just start the episode talking about it. And then we hashed it out and came up with a way to maybe make this a whole episode. We're going to see if this works, and we're even get some listener involvement down the road. So some of you know from past episodes, I've mentioned time to time, and Jerry's mentioned it, that I collect original Atom plugs, the ones made by Bob Pond, going back into the 50s, the original wooden ones, the 2-part plastic, and to some degree, some of the compressed foam atoms as well, which there were juniors and 40s that were made of that. But they are absolutely not the modern Atom lures that you will see on the shelves of your average tackle shop. I collect the vintage ones. So recently I made a purchase on eBay for myself to, basically there was a box in this lot of plugs in this big rusty mess of crap. There was an empty box from a lure the box was only used for 1 year, which I believe was like 1948. It was a very limited edition box, which, once any of you collectors out there know, these kind of things, are these stupid little things like that, are the things you need to piece together in your collection. So I've got, examples of limited run boxes and unique boxes and variables and variations, and it's like the whole other rest of the collecting world. So anyway, I spent way too much money on this big pile of shit for this one box in the middle of it all. And the box arrived with all the stuff in it, and I got some cool stuff here and there, some extra stuff, some throwaway stuff. But in the midst of it, there was additionally some plugs, some Adam Juniors. Now, the Adam Junior is the roughly, let's call it a 6-inch version of the primary Adam swimmer metal lip. And they've produced some big fish over the years. Those of you who remember listening back to the Frank Danios episodes, he landed 2 50-pounders on a junior from the same beach. So that's a well-known story, but it was cool to hear Frank's recollection of it on one of the early episodes of the podcast. But it's been a pretty popular plug over the years. Do you ever fish the juniors, Jerry?
No, but not the originals. But hold on, let me interject right there, as listeners forget. He caught those 250s on like first casts with the plug a year apart, and he doesn't even like the plug, and then he stopped fishing it. He caught the giant fish and then immediately stopped fishing the plug, and then didn't fish it out of like anger towards the plug. Even though it had caught it, he's just like, this thing's stupid. I don't want to fish it. Even though it caught me these like lifetime worthy fish, I'm going to just forget about it, which is hilarious. That's like such a Surfcaster thing. Talk about, we got some really good responses of our episode where we were talking about why are Surfcasters such freaks. That's a very freaky thing. That's a bizarre
Yeah, any sane person would throw nothing but that for the rest of their life. And then Frank's like, nah, I'm going to throw it twice, pop 250s, and throw the stupid plug in the trash.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Yeah.
No,
so
I haven't. I haven't fished them very much. I have different versions of them that aren't the originals, but I have to say right now in my current stash, I do not have a single junior original.
All right. Well, so that kind of links in what my initial thought process was here, that I was, when I got these plugs and I was digging through and figuring out what I'm going to do with all the extra stuff I got when I paid too much for this one stupid box, I saw these 2 juniors and I was like, you know what? You used to throw these a lot. Years ago, you would throw the 40s and the juniors all the time, and you haven't really thrown them so much anymore. So, as sort of happens to me sometimes, if a plug is sitting on my work desk for any amount of time, I start to get interested in it again, and I start looking at it and daydreaming and thinking about the upcoming season. So I kind of made a soft plan to start fishing it this year, and it developed into a challenge of myself, which I expanded to you, Jerry, and we'll take even further. Of making myself fish this plug this year. So I'm going to take one of these Adam Juniors, and I'm going to put it in my surf bag. And I'm going to force myself to fish it at least, I'm not going to say any specific number. I'm going to give it a fair shake every single time that I hit the surf this year. And I mean, if I get out there in a hurricane or something stupid, okay, maybe I'm not going to throw it then. But let's just call it every normal surf situation, every normal outing this year, I'm going to give it a fair shake. And that's where I was kind of like, I wanted to propose it to you. Would you be willing? We've heard people do challenges and stuff. Would this be something you'd be interested in attempting yourself, especially since you don't really fish this particular plug?
So you and I discussed this, but you didn't exactly ask me that exact question, right? We talked about this kind of, but like you didn't put it quite like that. And we're doing this live and in the moment, so I feel a little bit on the spot. But sure, I think so, right? Let's do it. Let's do it because I know where this is going eventually, where this discussion is going, and we're going to announce something at the very end of this episode that we were thinking about. So yes, I will also carry it and throw it every night. And I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to push back on you. And then I have a question for you. I say no matter what, you have to fish it. I say every single night, no matter what. If it's a hurricane, you got to figure out how to use it. You got to figure out how to fit. So then the question really, this is something we did not discuss ahead of time. And maybe this is putting us on the spot. Maybe this will get edited out. What does forcing you to use it mean? What does using it mean? Does that mean you underhand flipped the cast in front of you and reeled it in and said, oh, well, technically I did it. Technically I fished it. Or is there some kind of standard that you think that we must hit to say, I fished this?
Well, I mean, I'll let you, for your, how you're handling it, go to your, your what meets your criteria for it. For me, though, it's kind of what I briefly said a moment ago, but I have to give it a fair shake, meaning one cast is not going to be sufficient unless I take that cast and I'm like, okay, the surf is too big. It is just not holding. I can't cast into the wind. If it's your normal nights, I'll try it in those crazy conditions. I'll see if I can get it to work. Sure. But on my normal nights, let's say an average night in the middle of August when I have the preferred conditions, I'm going to cycle it into rotation. I'm going to make sure that as I'm cycling through my plug bag, it gets into rotation. Now that actually kind of made me think of it on the fly. If I'm eeling and I don't have a plug bag, or I'm chunking and I don't have a plug bag, I'm not bringing the junior.
No, I mean, that's right. That doesn't count. Right. Yeah.
I'm not forcing it that far. If I'm doing a plugging night, if I am plugging or, breachway or jigging or whatever it is, all those places, I'm going to, if I have a plug bag on me, let's call it that way. If I have a plug bag with me, I'm going to make sure that the Adam Jr.'s in there. I'm going to give it a fair shake. I'm going to add it in, perhaps where I would throw normally if I was on a darter and I'd first go to a needle, I'll throw this before I go to the needle. I'll incorporate it into my, dissecting of the surf and what's in front of me on a given night. Just one throw just to fulfill it. I'd actually rather fail the personal challenge than just throw it one time.
Yes.
It doesn't seem genuine to me.
Yes. Yes. And I think that that's the way I'll handle this too. And it's going to get to a question I want to ask you, but I think for me, now that we're making this official, because we're putting it out to the public, to thousands and thousands of people, it's good. We're locked in now. I think the way I will quantify it is a little bit nebulous. So it's not quite defined, but it'll be part of my rotation. Mm-hmm. And I think that's different than, last year you picked, I'm going to fish the Ava jig. And that was like, I just want to go out and fish it once, right? I want to take it out with me one night. I want to find a situation and fish it. But it was never going to be part of your rotation. That was never going to happen. And for me, I chose the bottle plug, sort of on a whim, based a little bit on what Nick Boccaccino was talking about and just some other stuff that we've been talking to other people about, some stuff that I talked with Rich Troxler about. But for me, I mostly was, I'm going to use this when it makes sense. It wasn't part of my rotation. But in times previous, I had not used it much at all on most nights. So I was carrying it most nights. I threw it once or twice, but I was looking for opportunities where it made sense. Now, with this challenge of taking the Adam Jr., I think the way to qualify, maybe not quantify, but qualify testing and using it, quote unquote, every night, is to make it part of that rotation. Mm-hmm. So as we've talked about in the past, or maybe we haven't, I can't remember, you and I are very similar when we use a plug at a spot in that we have like a home base or a couple of home bases and we rotate in and out of it. So it's like darter, sluggo, needle, darter, sluggo, metal lip, sluggo, needle, metal lip, darter, sluggo, glider, darter, sluggo, and it's like you're constantly rotating out of something like a darter or a sluggo or I don't even know, a glider, a needle. And you're constantly coming back to those plugs and you're sort of cycling through them. And this is a longer conversation, probably actually for certain scenarios, honestly. But I think the way to ensure that we're really being honest about our effort with this would be to make sure that as part of that cycling process, the Adam is always in there. In the same way that for me, I'm not going to say always, but I'm going to say 90+% of the time that Super Strike Darter is always in the rotation. I think the way to do this would be to make that Adam always part of the rotation. And that's it. And
like the base rotation piece.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the question is, because I would love to hear your take on this, is how versatile do you really think this plug is? And how is that going to hamstring you?
It's surprisingly versatile, honestly, because So the ones in question, the juniors, are the compressed foam. They're the ones that I'm going to be fishing, and I'll give you one as well because I've got enough of them in my collection here.
Yeah, I don't have to buy any because I have the Lapinski tackle shock that I can draw
Yeah.
on.
They're the early compressed plastic. They're compact enough. They cast surprisingly well for a metal lip. They're very stable. You can tune them. They're really tunable, which is one of the reasons I think they have been so productive over the years. Like I used to fish them a lot. I literally, I would, I'd have the same one just by tuning the line tie. I could fish it in an outflow. I could fish it in the surf. I could fish it in a lot of different situations. So it's a very stable base platform for a plug.
Yes.
So it does become versatile. This is probably where the junior and the 40 were probably the ones where I first started messing around with line tie adjustments on the fly and tweaking to get it to do what I want. But you can tweak the one junior from a surface swimmer to slightly subsurface to maybe 2 to 3 feet down. There were some specific heavily loaded ones that Bob produced on limited runs, special order kind of stuff that essentially sank. And I think that's what Frank's was one of those sinkers, if I remember correctly, was part of why he hated the thing.
Yes, that's why he hated it, because it was a sinker. Yes.
I've been trying to find an original sinker my whole collecting career and have yet to come up with one where I've got them and I thought I had them and I threw them in a bucket of salt water and they just floated like every other one. So I've yet to actually see one of these in person, but allegedly they exist. But yeah, it's a versatile plug in that regard. That it's not like let's just say your standard surface Danny that does that surface thing real damn good, and you can kind of make it dive a little bit to get by, but it's still a surface Danny at heart.
That's right.
This is versatile where that same exact plug could be a surface swimmer, it could be a 2-foot down diver. So that actually weighs in on my easing the comfort of accepting that, I can make myself throw this, thinking through on the fly right now, flashing all the spots that I fished throughout the season and likely to fish this coming season. Yeah, I could throw it at all those spots and not have a concern that it's not going to be able to swim properly.
Yeah. So you said the word that I think is so critical to this idea, but also to the plug, and that's stability. Excuse me. I think that this plug, and as the Atom 40 as well, they're very stable. And so because they're so stable, you can drive them up and down very easily without ruining them. You can also, and again, I don't have a ton of experience with this particular one, with the original OG Junior, but with my juniors that I have, and even more so the full Atom 40, I can add weight in different places, and it doesn't ruin the plug, but it can change where the plug is in the water column. And it, for example, like a Mike's Magnum Swimmer, which is an Atom 40, it's pretty heavy. That's a very heavy version of the plug. You can do all kinds of stuff with the hook placement, because they have like 3 hook placements, and I think he's actually now probably making them with 1, but the ones I have, you have 3 places. You can hang different weights and make the plug slow down, speed up, roll more, roll less, up and down in the water column, etc. And I think that is really important if it's going to be in your rotation all the time. Because I don't know how other people operate, but for me, the plug is a problem-solving tool, and I need it to do very specific things based on whatever spot I'm at. And so a Danny does a certain thing, right? But that certain thing may not be good for a specific spot. It may be only good for other spots. It's not necessarily about the conditions, the wind or the waves. It's more about the spot itself. And so if I'm bouncing around between all these different spots and I have to use this thing at all the spots, it has to be versatile. And I think stability is really key there for a plug like this, Yeah. But the more stable, the better, because you can put it into more conditions in more places in the water column and change its behavior without screwing it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't fished them in, let's call it, my modern times since I've done the switch to just running the single hook. But back when I was running them, I was playing around with hook placements on them to a degree, and running. They came with two belly swingers and a tail eye, so I would put a tail treble and a belly treble and skip the middle one. So I know, and then I do some with just a flag on the back or just two bellies. So I know they're very adjustable as well on that. So again, when I was thinking this through for myself for the personal challenge before this developed where it's gotten to now, I was comfortable enough still that I could say, all right, I can make this thing work, or I can use it in all the places. I mean, cheating to a degree. I used to fish them quite a bit, so I know a lot of these places already. I have fished them. It's just it's cycled out of my rotation. It's like the Goo Eyes we talked about some episodes ago, the forgotten plugs. Like the junior's kind of that for me. It's one of those that, despite the fact that I have a bunch of them, I have some crazy valuable ones on my wall of atoms up there. They don't get as much love on the end of my line as they should. So it's kind of like a cool thing too that I wanted to do personally to fish them again. And this opportunity presented itself where I had these two sitting on my desk, and it got back into my my consciousness, and I've been thinking about them and looking at them and playing with them and looking at them, and all the stupid stuff we do as surfcasting freaks in the off season, even though the off season's just begun. So it kind of developed to this. So I think it'll be a fun. I'm looking forward to it on a personal level. I'm glad that I've convinced you to possibly be on board here with me as well. I mean, that brings us to, I guess, our next step. If we want to extend this further.
Yeah. I mean, this was your idea originally, and I sort of proposed this next part. So why don't you sell it, Toby?
All right. We'd like to pose this same challenge to the listeners and the viewers of the Surfcast podcast. So for being a collecting purist that I am on the atoms, I'd like it to be, if you want to participate, it's got to be one of the old school OG Atom Juniors. It can be, they're all mostly the compressed foam, but not the modern ones, not the ones, I guess, if you're looking to buy one, not the ones made in Cumberland, Rhode Island. That's the current production. Which nothing really against them, but just, again, it's my collecting time frame is on the older stuff. So the old two-parters or the non-two-parters, that's the solid plastic, the compressed foam from like the early 80s and older. You can find them on eBay. You can find them at used tackle sales and stuff. I mean, they're realistically less expensive than 95% of your metal that you're going to find out there right now that are current productions anyway.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see some of the listeners and viewers participate. And if you're doing it, I'd love you to incorporate us into the journey this year, from acquiring them and fishing them, post them on your social media, tagging us in your posts. And we'll certainly share those to our stories and et cetera, and share them on our social media platforms as the listeners continue on the, I don't know, we call it the Adam Jr. Challenge.
Yeah. The Surfcast Podcast by Adam Jr. Challenge. Yeah. I don't know what we're going to call it.
We'll figure something out by the time we start fishing them, but
maybe we'll come up with a ridiculous, funny name, because it seems like some tournaments, it'll be funny. It'll be like the episode of The Office where Michael Scott has the 5K race for the cure, the rabies. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that one's a good one. It's worth watching. But anyways. I think this could be fun for everybody involved. Tag us on your journey, and we will keep everybody updated on how it goes for us. And, look at the upcoming tackle shows. That's where you can find these things as well. Like this, I know when this episode's coming out, it's going to be coming out right after the Narragansett show, unfortunately. That's a good one. But I know like the CSA is coming up, and there's like Ward Melville, and even at like Risa, the big one, and Plum Island, and there's all kinds of shows where you could potentially get stuff like this.
Yeah, and again, like I said, they're not expensive. You could buy a perfectly usable original Adam Jr. for $10. And be good to go on this. At any of these used tackle sales, even a couple bucks more for a new package on eBay. But even that, I mean, I bought them on eBay for less than that with shipping included. So
well, hopefully we didn't just drive the prices up, Toby. That's the only thing.
Yeah, right. Between recording and going live, I got to go scour eBay real quick and make sure if there's any on there that I really want, I grab them before y'all.
Yeah, I better go grab a couple. So anyway, all right. So that's the challenge for you. Let's see what you can do with the Adam Jr. keep track. Let us know as you journey along, just even getting them, how that goes for you. And we'll see you next time in the next episode of Surfcast Podcast. This has been a weekly edition of the Surfcast Podcast. You can find out more about the podcast at surfcastpodcast.com, or definitely check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, at the Surfcast Podcast.